Hey everybody, it's Doug Schauf with the Make Maine Your Home team over at Remax Oceanside. In this week's episode, we're going to talk about winter storms here in Maine. Ooh, I love a winter storm, so let's do this. All right, everybody. So like I said, we're going to talk about winter storms here in Maine. You know, as we sit here today that I'm filming, we're in the middle of a pretty good winter storm. Probably not as good as the meteorologist told us it was going to be. Down here on the coast of Maine, typically it's not as bad as what they say it's going to be. The warm air from the ocean kind of dulls it down a little bit. But I hear that inland is getting like a foot of snow. But either way, we do often, even here on the coast, get some pretty big storms, maybe a couple a year that are like some doozies. I just wanted to kind of talk to you about like how to prepare for them and a couple other like some good information about winter storms here in Maine. So let me put on my trusty glasses so I can see my notes here. So the first thing is pretty simple here, but just want to talk about, sometimes these storms can last multiple days. Typically we might get dumped on like overnight. So you go to bed and all of a sudden you wake up and there's a bunch of snow there. But oftentimes these things can go on for like at least a couple of days, sometimes even more, and like, get harder, softer, all that kind of stuff, different times of the day that it'll snow harder and things like that. So you just want to be mindful and pay attention to the, the weather apps on your phone or wherever you get your news from while it's happening. So you kind of know like when you should go out and snow blow your driveway and all that kind of stuff. And my next point is, they can bring massive amounts of snow. Once or twice a year, most winters, we'll get hit with, anywhere from 8 to 12 inches, maybe even more. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and, there they talk about feet of snow, 3 or 4 feet. But here, it's pretty common, here in southern Maine on the coast to, once or twice a year get a pretty big storm, big meaning that 8 to 12 inches of snow. When you get that kind of snow, it's always good to like time it right on when to like shovel out your driveway. Some people like to go out and do it like every couple hours just to make sure it's good in case if you need to get out of the house, it's cleared out. Me personally, the way my house is set up and my driveway isn't that huge, I usually try to wait until most of the snow is down. Or if I'm keeping an eye on the weather app and it looks like it's going to turn to rain, that's when I'll jump out there and get it done. But if it's saying like, hey, we're going to get one of those, foot of snow, I will keep an eye on it, maybe go do like halfway through the storm, go do it, and then do it again at the end type thing. That's how I roll. I have some friends that do it like every hour just to make sure it's like good. When you do get massive amounts of snow, you want to be mindful of how you're going to get out of the house. Depending on how your house sits on your lot, oftentimes a lot of my neighbors, and sometimes I do this, is you can make a path all the way around the house. Let's say 2 feet of snow and it's just going to be outrageous. Putting a path around the house, just in case if there's like a fire or something like that, the firemen have an easier way to get to your house, or you have an easier way to get out at any given time. So that's something that a lot of people do. I don't do it all the time, but if I know there's going to be a huge amount of snow, sometimes I'll do that just to make sure that we're safe. If you hire a plow service, they're going to be more on top of it for you, and they might do it a couple times throughout the storm. Depending on who you hire, they might charge per storm, or guys might charge you a monthly rate, just to kind of make sure that it's all good. So if you hire somebody, that it'll keep your driveway clear and be able to get you in and out regardless of what's happening. So that's kind of nice. This next point that we want to talk about is power outages. Power outages can happen when there's a lot of snow or ice, and especially if these storms last a couple days. Just want to make sure that you're mindful of that. So if you do have a generator, make sure it's ready to go before the storm hits. Maybe start it up. If you have one of those manual ones, if you have an automatic one, maybe go out and make sure that it's it's good and it's doing its normal test cycles. Be mindful of, if you don't have a generator, that you have some sort of heat source. If you do maybe have a manual generator that can maybe just power just a small space heater, something like that. If the power is going to be out for a very long time, you got to be mindful of pipes breaking, things like that. So you just want to be mindful that you're prepared. And also a place for you to go. Like if power does go out, maybe make sure you're in touch with your friends and relatives that, hey, if your power goes out and you don't have any generator or any other backup heat sources, you can get out of there and go stay with somebody else, that maybe does have that, or their power is on. So again, just be mindful that those things can happen. Storms can be deadly. If you don't take the proper precautions and you get stuck in a storm, getting that cold can be deadly. So you just want to be mindful of that. You don't want to be brave in these scenarios. If you got to go somewhere and go to a friend's house or something like that, go. Everything else can be replaced, but not your life. Travel in ice and snow and things like that, just be very careful. If you don't have to go somewhere, don't. That's what we always kind of, live by. Just, if it's a big major storm and like wherever you work maybe is closed down, just stay home, hang out. It's always a good idea to do that, to make sure that, and make sure your vehicles are, maintained and like ready to go. If you're worried about that your vehicle might not make it through the snow or anything like that, maybe before the storms, make sure your vehicle's and all that, kind of like your generator. Make sure everything's like up and running and ready to go in case if you need it. And maybe put a few things in your vehicle, some kits. They sell a lot of kits out there that you could probably find that just, help you out. Like if you get stranded somewhere, you have that type of thing, like flares and blankets and things like that. Those are some things to be careful with on a winter storm. The cool thing is they're beautiful. Like, I love, when the storms are kind of winding down and like the sun starts coming out, all the snow all over the trees and all that stuff. It's awesome. And then if you have kids or if you just like to go out and play in the snow, go. It's a great time to snowshoe and cross-country ski and all that, or go downhill skiing. It's really just, winter is a beautiful time when the storms come, and make sure you take some time to enjoy that. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comment below. Hit us up anywhere, of course. And remember, if you make Maine your home, you don't have to do it alone.